This is AndyTube. In this video I want to talk about the bobbin winding system or bobber winder system on the Singer model 503. All the features and demos would also be the same for the Singer model 500 or 500A. I want to just start with an overview of the system. We flip up here everything for winding the bobbin except for the stop motion. Let me get back out. Except for the stop motion knob is up here under the hood or under the top cover. And what it involves here is, of course, you have a spool pin to put your thread on. Okay, and then you have the bobbin winder tension disc assembly over here that provides a nice even tension on the thread so that it winds smoothly on the bobbin. And over here is this little cylindrical post that is the bobbin winder thread guide, bobbin winder thread guide. And over here you see the tops of two different assemblies here. One is the engaging lever assembly, and the other is the bobbin winder spindle bracket assembly. So when you want to wind a bobbin on the 503, you take your thread from the back side of the tension disc assembly and pull it into the tension disc and bring it around the front, and you would go in front of, on your side of the little thread guide here, this little post, that's what it's for. And then you would take your class 66 bobbin and you would put the thread from the inside between the two plates to the outside of the small hole near to the spindle hole, and then you would put that bobbin on the spindle, press it down all the way, engage the lever, which also moves the spindle over so that the friction ring or rubber tire can contact the hand wheel. And then of course you will disengage the stop motion by holding the gold hand wheel and turning the stop motion knob towards you. And it only goes about, I don't know, 1/8 of a turn or so. And as you probably know, that's to disengage the feed dog and the needle bar, which you don't want to use when you're just winding a bobbin. And then you would run the motor, and makes everything spin here and wind the thread. This tension disc assembly keeps tension here so that the thread winds evenly. And you always want to wind it at an even speed. And it's better to run it at a moderate speed when you wind a bobbin, not full out, or not faster, slower, faster, slower. Pay attention for a couple minutes and just run it at a steady, moderate speed. And this system is designed that as the thread fills up on the bottom, it'll push that engaging lever farther and farther away from the spindle until it finally pops it back, and the kick-out spring releases the bobbin spindle bracket enough from the hand wheel that it won't turn anymore. So that's just a quick overview of how you'd wind a bobbin on the Singer 503A and the 500. I'm actually going to remove parts and show you the different parts now. So to start this, there's just 2 screws that you can remove this top plate with, but you can actually remove the bobbin winder tension disc assembly and the little thread guide while the top plate is still on the machine. If you want to follow along but you prefer to take this off and move it down to a desktop, that's fine. You just remove 2 screws. One screw is there, and the other screw is back here in the corner near the hand wheel. You loosen those screws and you lift it straight up, lift the whole cover off, lift it by the base of the cover. Don't yank it around by this, because you can pull it off the hinges and damage the hinges. So once the screws are out, you're better off to hold the plate. You lift it straight up and just make sure you get clearance on the engaging lever, that it doesn't get hung up right there when you're taking it off. I'll be doing that later, but right now for filming I decided to leave it mounted on the arm because I think I can give you a better view of it this way. So I have my magnetic parts tray I always use, and it's one screw is going to remove this assembly. Let's get over here and get zoomed in on it a little bit. So this top metal disc, the top spring retainer, and you see that there's a spring inside here. When you push down, you can feel it springing up and down. So I hold on to that while I take out the one screw. So this whole thing here is called the bobbin winder tension disc assembly. And then the screw is, amazingly enough, called the screw. So hold that top spring retaining plate firm so it doesn't start twisting on you, and just back the screw all the way out, and it's just lefty-loosey. And get in front of the camera here. That's what the screw looks like. Let's see if you can. It's a chrome screw, and you can see I'm holding this because if I let it go, it wants to spring apart. So we just lift that top spring retention plate off. I'll show you that. You can see in there where the spring is going to, top of the spring is going to sit, and this is how it looks from the top. And there's a very light dip or depression here for that screw to fit down in there. So if you reassemble it properly, that screw is going to be a little bit recessed in there. And then the next thing you're going to see after you take that top spring retaining plate off is the spring itself. Now we'll get that up there and you can get a look at it. So it looks like there's about 4 coils. And let me put it in the palm of my hand so you can see it. You can see some thread lint and dust in there, which is why I like to take this apart once in a while, get all the dirt out, and I clean it with my crud cutter, degreaser, and or alcohol, you know, get it all clean and put it back in there. You can see some of the lint there. So we like to get that out of there because that interferes with the tension. Here's the bottom screw or spring retaining disc or plate. There's some more lint and dust. So this is the bottom. This is what the spring sets on to hold it like that. And on the bottom of it, it's chromed and polished there because this actually presses the thread onto the tension disc for tension. And this tension isn't adjustable like the upper thread needle tension is, or the bobbin thread tension is adjustable. This is not. But if you just keep it clean, then it'll apply the right amount of tension to that thread as you're winding it on the bottom. And the last part here is the actual kind of tension disc. It's another chrome over steel, and you can see the bottom side where it's been sitting on the machine, and there is a little like I call it a depressed area. That's the side that goes down, and the smooth area faces up. So when the bottom of that spring retainer sets on there, it's between those two items that the thread passes between, and that's where you get your tension. So you have the actual tension disc, the bottom spring retainer disc, the spring, and then the top spring retainer disc, and the screw that holds it all together, like that. Of course, when you actually screw it in, you know, it's all fit together nice, and you have your little spring tension, so that thread goes between the bottom of the spring retainer plate and the top of the tension disc. That's where the thread goes. And then you can see the depressed area here in the arm cover, and you can see it's dirty, and there's a lot of thread dust and room dust, and looks like one piece of pet hair in there. So you can clean this area all out nicely with a Q-tip and some crud cutter or alcohol, and clean all your parts. Okay, once they're clean, you just put them back in that order and screw it in, and the screw goes down tight. You know, at the very top of the screw there are not threads, so even when the screw's installed tightly into the cover, there's a little bit of give so the tension can work. Okay, and then let's see if we can get over here. I can move the machine a little bit, and this is the thread guide for the bobbin winder system, and it's just to keep the thread from, so it doesn't cut across all of this stuff. The thread can actually come out here around the thread guide and then to the bobbin winder pieces. And it's 2-piece. It's got the screw, the screw that attaches, well, I guess it would be 3 pieces. It's got the screw that attaches it to the arm cover, and it has this little chrome cylinder. Get some light over here. That little chrome cylinder with the top and bottom raised out to keep the thread in there, and you can up or down, it doesn't matter. It's made the same. And there's a little washer that you may have seen come flying off and go flying in here. I forgot that washer was there, to be honest. So hang on, and I'll take the cover off here and I'll go get it. Well, I might as well show you how to get the cover off, because I said I would, right? So you take the back screw off near the hand wheel. Just looks like that. Both these screws are the same, so you won't get them mixed up. And then the front screw is up here by the arm thread guide. So we will loosen that and take it out. And then remember, we don't want to yank it up by the flip up cover. We want to hold it by the base and just lift it straight up and off. And let's see if I spot my little, no, it went down in there pretty good. So I'm going to have to hope that it went all the way through. I don't want to turn stuff too much, because I could get that washer caught in a gear or the cam stack or anything. So I'm going to hope that it went down and fell all the way to the bottom. And I'm looking down here and I don't see it. Oh my. Okay. So next will be to turn the machine upside down, about 22 pounds here, and see if I can get it to fall out. And hey, how about that? I got lucky. Okay. Whew. There it is. A little tiny washer. I forgot that's underneath there. So the way this reassembles is the washer sits on the arm cover, and the thread guide sits on top of the washer, and then the mounting screw just goes through both of them, like through the guide and through the through the guide, and then through the washer there, and it just mounts right into that hole on the top of the arm that I showed you. Easy peasy. So in part 2, I'm going to show you then how to remove and replace the engaging lever assembly, and including the oil shield, I think I'll do, and then the spindle bracket, which has the spindle and the little finger that comes off here and the friction ring or rubber tire. And I'm going to show you how to disassemble that so that you can clean it, and the tricky spring over here that to put it back on. The spring that's often broken or missing or not installed properly, and why this will just flip around in circles and not snap back. So join me for part 2, and that'll finish up the bobbin winder system on the Singer Model 503A, and consequently the 500, because they're the same family. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on part 2. Take care.